Hello, everyone, and welcome to Walking Through the Bible. When we're suffering through extreme agony, sometimes we find ourselves in arguments with people as to why they did or did not do something, arguments with ourselves as if there was anything that we could have done to prevent our suffering, and even arguments with God as to why He allowed us to suffer. Arguments with God are futile because even if God was the cause for our suffering, we wouldn't win those arguments because God is God and we are very much not. But God isn't the cause of this righteous suffering, in spite of Job and his friends' assertions to the contrary. For Job's friends, Job's sin was the cause of his suffering, as only sinners are punished by God. Job correctly points out the fallacy in that argument due to the fact that if sin was the only cause of suffering, then all people would suffer all of the time. Job's mistake comes by claiming that his suffering, as someone who is righteous, is coming from God. Let's see how Job's argument continues as we close out chapter 9. So if you have a Bible with you, you can turn to Job chapter 9. We're going to be reading from verses 25 to 35. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So Job chapter 9, beginning at verse 25. Now my days are swifter than a runner. They flee away. They see no good. They pass by like swift ships, like an eagle swooping on its prey. If I say I will forget my complaint, I will put off my sad face and wear a smile. I am afraid of all my sufferings. I know that you will not hold me innocent. If I am condemned, why then do I labor in vain? If I wash myself with snow water and cleanse my hands with soap, yet you will plunge me into the pit, and my own clothes will abhor me. For he is not a man as I am, that I may answer him, and that we should go to court together. Nor is there any mediator between us who may lay his hand on us both. Let him take his rod away from me, and do not let me dread of him terrify me. Then I would speak and not fear him, but it is not so with me. Job does not understand why he's suffering. He does not accept his friend's assertions that he is a sinner and is suffering due to sin, for he does not know what sin he committed. He does rightly acknowledge that by himself man cannot stand righteous before God, and so if suffering only came because of sin, then everybody would be suffering all of the time. Job's conclusion is that the righteous are allowed to suffer by God and that God is the cause of that suffering, and therein lies Job's mistake. The righteous do suffer, but God isn't the cause of that suffering. He is the cause of the suffering of the wicked, for God does punish sin, but he is not the cause of the suffering of the righteous. He allows it, but he does not cause it. Job, though, is in extreme pain, and he does not see it that way. He says that his days pass by quickly and no good comes from them because of his suffering. He could pretend that he is not suffering. He could put on a happy face, but that would be rather pointless, for that would change nothing. His suffering would remain. If he was being punished by God, nothing would change by him pretending that he wasn't suffering. And if he was righteous, but being punished by God anyways, likewise nothing would change by him pretending that he wasn't suffering. He could wash himself with snow water, meaning pure water. He could cleanse his hands with soap. Yet if God really desired and took pleasure in punishing Job with suffering, God would again plunge him into the pit, making his own clothes abhor him, meaning that if his clothes could escape his disease-ridden body, they would. Why would all of this be the case? Because God is not man like Job was. God was God. He was spirit. He experiences no pain, no suffering, because he is not on this earth. He is in heaven and without sin. And as a higher being, there is no mediator that can mediate between God and man in order that Job might plead his case before God, should God even wish to hear it. When Job spoke those words, his words did ring true, for the price for sin had not yet been paid. If Job spoke them today, they would not be true. For 1 Timothy chapter 2, verses 5 and 6 says, For there is one God and one mediator between God and men, the man Christ Jesus, who gave himself as a ransom for all, to be testified in due time. Now, yes, I understand the mediator that Paul speaks of and the one Job speaks of mediating appear to be for different things. Jesus for sin and Job for suffering. But when you really dig down, Job is speaking of the same thing. Job believes he is righteous, but he also recognizes that because he is man and God is not, that he can't possibly stand before God and make that claim. However, Jesus is not simply a man. He is God, God who became flesh, God who pre-existed before becoming man. Therefore, Christ is the perfect mediator to mediate between God and man, for he experienced the same things we experience on this earth, including temptation, but also is God and knows the perfection that comes from being God. Jesus can declare us righteous before the Father by faith due to the fact that Jesus paid the price for sin. Now, of course, that wouldn't solve Job's suffering issue, because the righteous do suffer, but at least Job would have an answer for whether he is righteous or not. Job thought to himself that if God removed his rod from him, then maybe he could stand before God and speak to him without fear, but such was never going to be the case, so Job thought. So why even bother giving that any thought? Now, of course, Job's worthiness to stand before God would be wrong for all of the reasons Job has already stated, but that is Job's mindset at the time nonetheless. Job's arguments will continue on into chapter 10, so we invite you back for the next lesson. With that, our time is up for today. We will be taking a 1-week break and will return, the Lord willing, on Monday, April 14th, 2025. When we return, we will take up with Job chapter 10, verses 1 to 12. We hope you'll come back and join us in that discussion when we will continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. We thank you for watching Walking Through the Bible today. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below. But if you like this video, we ask that you consider subscribing to our channel so you won't miss out on other videos in our series, as well as share this video among your friends so that the saving message of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.